Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special English learning session. Today, we're doing something different. We're going to dive into a world of darkness and fear. This is not just a horror story. It's an immersive experience to help you improve your English listening skills, vocabulary, and understanding of natural conversations.
That's right, Liam. I'm a bit nervous, honestly. But they say the best way to learn is when your heart is racing. So, if you're ready to learn English and get some goosebumps, let's begin. Keep your ears open for new words, and don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just feel the story. This is The Shadow in the Static. It was October 1994. A young journalist named Elias Thorne was traveling through the mountains of Blackwood. Elias wasn't looking for ghosts. He was looking for a story about an abandoned radio station that had been silent for 30 years. The locals said the station was cursed. They said the last DJ who worked there, a man named Henry, didn't just die. He simply vanished into the air while he was live on the radio. Elias found the station at the top of a jagged cliff. The building was covered in thick, black vines that looked like veins. The windows were shattered and the door was hanging by a single rusty hinge. He stepped inside, his flashlight cutting through the thick, dusty air. The silence was suffocating. He made his way to the recording room. To his surprise, the equipment looked brand new. No dust, no rust, just cold, shining metal.
Wait, you said the building was abandoned for 30 years? How can the equipment look new? That's impossible, unless someone or something was taking care of it.
Exactly, Sam. That was the first thing Elias thought. He sat in the chair, and as he touched the microphone, the heavy metal door behind him slammed shut. Bang! He ran to the door, but there was no handle. It was just a flat, cold surface of steel. He was trapped. Then the old radio monitors flickered to life. A green light filled the room. A soft, scratching sound started coming from the speakers. Scritch. Scritch, scritch. And then a voice, distorted and deep, whispered through the static. Is anyone listening?
Oh my God, Liam, tell me he didn't answer. If a ghost asks if you're listening, you stay quiet.
Elias was terrified, but he was a journalist. His curiosity was stronger than his fear. He leaned into the microphone and whispered, "Who is this?" The static on the speakers grew louder, turning into a roar. Then, suddenly, it stopped. A dead silence followed. Then the voice came back, but this time it was clear. It sounded like it was standing right behind Elias's ear. It said, "I've been waiting for a new voice. Mine is so tired." Elias turned around, but the room was empty. But then he looked at the glass window of the recording booth, the window that looks into the empty hallway. In the reflection, he saw himself sitting in the chair. But sitting on his shoulders was a tall, thin figure with no face. It had long, needle-like fingers wrapped around Elias's throat.
No way. He saw it in the reflection? Liam, this is too much. Did he try to fight it?
He couldn't move. He felt his voice being pulled out of his chest. It felt like his lungs were being filled with cold water. On the radio monitor, the recording levels were spiking. The on-air sign turned bright red. The faceless entity leaned closer and started to speak, but the words weren't coming from its mouth. They were coming from Elias's own mouth, even though he wasn't moving his lips. The entity said through Elias, "Tonight we have a special guest. He will be staying with us forever."
Okay, I need a second to breathe. Liam, that was intense. While I recover from the shock, let's look at some of the words you used. You said the silence was suffocating. What does that mean? Great question, Sam. Suffocating means you feel like you can't breathe. It's often used to describe a very heavy or uncomfortable atmosphere. I also used the word distorted. A distorted voice is one that sounds strange and twisted, like a bad radio signal. And you said the building was abandoned. That means nobody lives there anymore, right? Precisely. Abandoned means left behind and forgotten. Now, back to Elias. He was paralyzed, watching his own reflection die. But then he noticed something in the corner of the room, an old tape recorder. It was spinning. He realized the entity wasn't just a ghost, it was a sound, a frequency. He realized that if he could break the frequency, he might be able to break the curse. With every bit of strength he had, Elias reached for his heavy metal flashlight. He didn't swing it at the ghost, he swung it at the main radio transmitter. Did he break it? Did it work? The glass shattered. Sparks flew everywhere. The red on-air light flickered and died. The cold weight on his shoulders vanished. The room went dark. Elias fell to the floor, gasping for air. The door clicked open. He didn't wait. He ran. He ran out of the building, down the cliff, and didn't stop until he reached his car. Thank goodness, he made it out. I hope he never goes near a radio again. He thought he was safe, Sam. He drove home, locked his doors, and went to sleep. But the next morning, he woke up and turned on his car radio to listen to the news. For a moment, there was just static. Then a familiar scratching sound. Scritch, scritch, scritch. And then his own voice came through the speakers, his own voice from the night before, saying, "I've been waiting for a new voice. Mine is so tired." Elias sat in his car, his hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. He stared at the radio. His own voice, his exact voice, was coming through the speakers. It was repeating his words from the radio station. But then the voice changed. It wasn't just repeating anymore. It started laughing, a low, distorted laugh that vibrated through the seats of the car.
No, Liam, if I heard my own voice laughing at me from my own car, I would jump out the door while the car was moving. Did he stay in the car?
He couldn't move. He was in shock. He grabbed a heavy screwdriver from his glove box and started stabbing the radio. He smashed the screen, pulled out the wires, and threw the pieces out the window into the mud. He thought that would be the end of it. He drove home in total silence. No music, no radio, nothing. When he reached his apartment, he felt a strange sensation. Have you ever felt like someone is standing right behind you, breathing on the back of your neck, but when you turn around, there's nobody there? Yes, it's the worst feeling in the world. It makes your skin crawl. That's exactly what Elias felt. He locked his front door with 3 different locks. He closed all the curtains. He wanted to be in total darkness, away from anything that could have a reflection. But then he heard a ping. It was his laptop. He had left it on his desk. He walked over to it, his heart hammering against his ribs. The screen was black, but then a window popped up. A video call. A video call? From who? The caller ID was just a string of zeros. 0000. Elias didn't want to answer, but his finger moved on its own. It was like his body wasn't his anymore. He clicked accept. The camera turned on. On the screen, Elias saw his own living room. He saw himself sitting at the desk. But in the video, the room was full of people. Tall, thin, faceless figures were standing in every corner of his room. They were all leaning forward, watching him. And on the screen, the Elias in the video wasn't blinking.
He was just staring into the camera with a wide, terrifying grin.
So the video was showing what was actually in the room with him, but he couldn't see them with his own eyes? That is terrifying. He was surrounded.
He screamed and slammed the laptop shut. He grabbed his phone to call the police, but the phone was already vibrating. A text message appeared. It was a photo of him taken from inside his own closet just 2 seconds ago. Elias realized the truth. This thing, this shadow in the static, wasn't just a ghost. It was a digital infection.
Liam, this is getting really dark. If it's in the internet, it's everywhere. It's in every house on Earth. What did he do? Did he run away?
He did something desperate. He decided to go off the grid. He threw